Okay, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Nisha. This is the Grateful Me channel. This is the original channel that I created to showcase all of the crafts and the things that I was creating as far as my digital files. I make folios, SVG files, and I've created a separate YouTube channel for that called Nicely Digitized. So on this channel, I'm going to be more so crafting just using any of my supplies that I already have, not necessarily anything digitized. There may be some things that are digitized that I pre-cut using my Cricut and go ahead and assemble or do a showcase of whatever I make. So just keep that in mind. This channel is going to be specifically for like physical things, and then my Nicely Digitized channel is going to be where most of the tutorials for my digitized files are going to be. So I am in the process of cleaning up my craft room. I have tons and tons and tons of scrap paper. Now, I do not like to waste. I am very, very particular about reusing decent sized scraps, especially if they are some things that I can use to make cards with. I do like making cards. I do like making, what do you call them? Like sentiment bases, but they're really like layers of different pieces of scrap that you can just pop a sentiment onto and then put that on a different card as a card front. So I like to make those out of scrap. I of course stamp sentiments themselves on scraps. I layer and make a whole bunch of different things. So here you will just see me organizing all the scraps that I have by size, not necessarily in any particular order, but I like to just be able to be like, oh, I need this similar size scrap, so I go ahead and go for that. So here I'm just binding them using some paper clips. I like to use the binder rings because it allows a lot more thickness to be inside of the stack, so I can have a much thicker stack. I use the binder clips for a lot of my bigger stacks, which you'll see in just a moment. But yeah, this is just me kind of organizing. I had scraps all over the place from things that I had cut by hand and things that I had cut using my Cricut. So in this video, you're just pretty much going to be seeing me organize all of that. Now, towards the end, I am going to show you what I ended up doing as far as organizing these scraps using the binder clips. I pretty much made some little hangable hooks on my wall using Dollar Tree foam board, the contact paper adhesive from Dollar Tree, some tape, and I think it came out fairly nicely. I'm going to post a picture so that you can see what that looks like and how I ended up hanging them. I also hung a lot of my stickers that I made myself as well as bought from Dollar Tree and a bunch of other places. So yeah, I like the way that came out. It helped me to clear off an entire shelf in my craft room that just had stacks and stacks of stuff on top of it. So now it's nice and neatly hung on the wall, out of the way, and I love it. So I am having the toughest time picking up everything off of this hard surface off my cutting mat because I don't have nails. I like to keep my nails nice and trimmed and just clean for when I'm doing videos. And yeah, I had no nails to pick anything up. I do sometimes do my nails, but I get a lot of nail damage, so a lot of times they will not be done, but hey, life of a crafter. I am now clearing off another section of my craft room, pretty much just taking a whole wad of papers and putting them in a pile so that I can go ahead and get ready to sort them out. So this, you can tell, is a whole array of different things. I got fussy cut butterflies. I have strips and cut out full sheets from the Cricut, cutting a bunch of little stuff out, and yeah, it's a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you tune in to this for a little bit. I'm also bringing up my trimmer because a lot of the bigger pieces have a lot of space available, like for users not very small. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim it down to like a decent size, so it's not like an L-shaped piece of paper, but you'll see that in a moment. If you made it this far, obviously you like it here, so you might as well go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much in advance. Okay, so I got everything organized. Now I just came across a stack of paperwork that I needed to shred. And somehow I just picked this up along with all of my other scraps. So I'm going to go ahead and put that to the side. I'm going to shred that at another time. So I have all of my scraps assembled according to the size. So now you're just going to see me put them together. I like to organize them in a way that they are, the largest size is on the bottom and the smaller ones are on the front. You'll see in just a moment, just so I can see what I have as far as what colors. I can flip through it fairly easily, take the binder clip off, pull out the scrap that I need, put the binder clip back on, and hang it back up on the wall. So it's just easy for me. I like to keep things kind of organized so I can see everything that I have and try to keep it out of the way as much as possible, with the exception of when I'm actually crafting. So this is an example of that right here. This is a similar size stack of pretty much scrap paper, so I have that all together. So here you'll see me assembling a little bit larger size. These are more so like A2 size card bases. So this is golds, pinks, reds. It's giving me Valentine's, so I might use this entire stack just to knock out a bunch of Valentine's Day cards since it's right around the corner. So I'm going to keep all these colors and themes or patterned papers together and use that for Valentine's Day cards. Okay, so now we're getting into the smaller strips. Typically, I don't save these too often. However, I couldn't help myself. I was like, you know what? I've been making a lot of strip related cards. So I'm going to save this little bunch and put a paper clip on them. And you'll see what I make with those very soon. So for these, I thought that it would make really cute sentiment strips or backings to sentiments. So if you're using like a lighter color, you can always stamp right on it, or you can stamp a smaller image on regular white paper and just prop it up on top of this. I think it's such a cute idea. So I'm keeping the small stack of this size. Now here I had like a small envelope that I had previously made, and I'm going to go ahead and insert all the small little punches inside that envelope so I can keep them in one little spot. I'm using those little small punches to wrap around my stacks of paper. That way when I put the binder clips and paper clips on it, it doesn't indent the paper, as you can see here. But you can also use those as small, not necessarily sentiments, but little elements pretty much, where you can decorate your cards or whatever you're creating. So I have all of my stacks together. I'm going to put them in a neat little stack. So again, to give you an idea of what you can make using any scraps, these are card bases for A2 size cards. They're on pretty thick cardstock. I used those strips for that one. I used a bunch of different elements that I pre-cut out for that. These are index cards, so it's kind of like a journal card. You can journal on the back of them. And these are those sentiment bases that I was saying you could create a card, just put a sentiment right on top of that and put that on top of the card front. So these are just a couple of ideas. I'm going to be doing a lot more of those to show you how I make those using up the scrap strips. And yeah. All right, real quick. So this is where the L-shaped cut papers are going to be getting trimmed down. Sometimes I use regular scissors. Sometimes I use my trimmer. It all just depends on the size of the strips or what the size of the paper is that I need to trim. I'm going to pretty much put these into sizes after I cut everything. I'm just pretty much at this point determining what I want to try to save, thinking about what I can use something for. If I feel that it won't serve a purpose or the cut is just off or it's too small, I'll just go ahead and trash it. I do keep a Amazon box, like a really small Amazon box underneath my desk. That way I can just toss all of my scraps in there. And when I'm ready to throw it away, I just throw the whole or empty the box inside of the trash bin. Instead of using bags and all that, I find it much easier and neater just to toss things in the box. When that small box gets full, I know I need to go ahead and empty it. Now this was not really salvageable, but I did say I might need a black strip for something I was thinking about, so I went ahead and cut it. You don't have to be this particular about your scraps at all. This is just something that I like to do. So I did end up tossing the rest of the paper. So I just got the one strip from that. So here I'm just going to harvest the rest of what I can from whatever is remaining from these larger pieces. A lot of times it can be difficult to trim something that has such tiny thin pieces hanging on the edges, so I just go ahead and rip those off. A lot of times you can just cut them with scissors, but at that point I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and rip this so I can make it easier for myself. But I try to salvage the largest part of the cardstock, and then whatever is left, if it's smaller and I can use it for a sentiment strip, I will save it, but if not, I toss it. So here's an example of the one that I cut instead of using the trimmer. This was a piece of foil cardstock, I believe from Michael's. And I had cut out a bunch of something. So I just went ahead and tossed those thin little tiny strips after I cut the larger squares off that could be used for a card base. Now this section of papers is a folio that I was in the process of assembling, but I messed up. I placed all of the decorative panels on before I actually assembled the folio, which is a no-no. So I told myself I was going to reuse it for something else related to cards. If not, I was going to toss it. So here I'm just pretty much organizing them to see what I have as far as different sizes and what elements can be salvaged. There are some basic, very basic prototypes here, as you can see with the pink paper. So I'm going to completely toss that. It's not meant to be saved. I use scrap paper anyway for that. So again, I try to reuse paper where I can for different things. And then once it no longer can serve a purpose for me, I go ahead and toss it at that point. So yeah, I have a stack of pretty much layered cardstock that I can use for something else, mostly card elements. So now that my stack is all trimmed down, I'm going to go ahead and organize it by size, just like I did previously, and add it to my already existing stacks that I have if I don't have enough to make a new stack. Here's the stack. I think the sizes will fit, and these are just a bunch of 3x4 journal cards that I pre-cut. One day I was really bored. I went ahead and rounded some corners on a bunch of them. So those are going to be used as journal cards or even card fronts as well. It just depends. So I can just find what color I'm looking for, pull it out and go. So let me just say that if you have never tried this as far as like organizing scraps or organizing anything in your craft room, like in silence, it's very therapeutic. I highly recommend you try it. It kind of gives you time just to like mindlessly do something with your hands, so it doesn't involve a lot of thinking. It gives you time to kind of like just relax a little bit. You're cleaning up, so you're being productive, you're organizing. You might be coming up with different ideas and being inspired by different prints or patterned papers or colors. So I highly recommend giving it a try. So here I have my largest stack of scrap paper. This is what I tend to use most whenever I am coming up with a prototype of something, or if I need to do test cuts for a design on my Cricut. Instead of using brand new 12 by 12 sheets or 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, I just go ahead and use these, and they work perfectly. Gives me an opportunity to make sure that everything is cutting correctly without wasting extra paper. So here I am just stacking everything up. These are going to be portions of the scraps that I hang on the wall using the hook frames that I made. So I know it looks like a ton, and it is a ton, but my craft room is so much more organized. I have no more paper just hanging around, no more scraps everywhere, and I love it. So thank you so much for tuning in to this video. I hope you enjoyed it and get some ideas on how you can too organize your craft room and save those scraps for more projects. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.